The ice has gone quiet for one of the NHL's most decorated and talked about champions. Claude Lemieux, the two-time Stanley Cup winner known for his clutch goals, his relentless forecheck, and an edge that divided fans and opponents alike, has passed away. The news arrived without fanfare, without a long farewell tour, and without the kind of closure that so many people hoped he would get. He was still the man who had lifted the cup twice, still the man whose name was spoken in the same breath as the great champions of 1990s. But now that name carries a new weight, a sense of finality that comes when a legend is taken from the game we love. Claude Lemieux didn't come into hockey as a star. He arrived as a big, strong forward with a low center of gravity, a knack for finding space in the offensive zone, and a willingness to take hits that would have sent other players to the bench. He wasn't the flashiest player in the league, but he was the kind of player coaches trusted when the game mattered most. He learned the game the hard way, through years of grinding shifts, through moments when the ice felt like it was trying to slow him down, and through the kind of practice that made him stronger, faster, and more relentless. That grind would become the foundation of his career, a career that would eventually lead him to 2 Stanley Cup championships and to a place in the history of the sport. His first cup came with the New Jersey Devils in 1995, a team that was known for its defensive structure, its physical play, and its ability to win when no one expected it. Lemieux was a key part of that squad, a player who could score when the game was tight, who could create space in the slot, and who could finish when the defense was at its most vulnerable. He wasn't the top scorer on the team, but he was the kind of player who could turn a 2-1 game into a 3-1 game with a single shot, a single pass, or a single moment of brilliance. That ability to make the difference in critical moments would define his hockey identity and would be remembered long after the final horn of that series. The second cup came in 1996 with the Colorado Avalanche, a team that had just moved from Quebec and was looking to make a statement in its new home. The Avalanche were a star-studded team with a mix of veteran leadership and young talent, and Lemieux fit right in. He played with a confidence that came from winning, and he played with a hunger that came from knowing how rare the opportunity was. His goals in the playoffs that year were not just about scoring. They were about momentum, about shifting the tide in favor of his team, and about reminding everyone that the Aces were not just a team that could win, but a team that could dominate. When the final puck dropped and the Avalanche lifted the cup, Lemieux was there to celebrate, to raise the trophy, and to remind the hockey world that he was a champion in the truest sense. But Claude Lemieux was not just a champion. He was also a polarizing figure. His style of play, his physicality, and his willingness to engage in the dirty work that many players avoided made him a target for criticism and, at times, for outright hatred. There were moments when his actions on the ice were questioned, when his reputation for aggression was used to define him more than his goals, and when the media focused on the controversy rather than the achievement. He was never the kind of player who let the noise affect him, though. He never let the criticism soften his edge, and he never let the pressure change the way he played. He kept showing up, kept grinding, and kept doing what he did best, making the difference when it mattered most. Off the ice, Lemieux was a quieter man than the public often assumed. He was a family man who valued his time with his loved ones, a person who kept his circle close and his conversations genuine. He was the kind of person who would stop to talk to a young fan who had traveled hundreds of miles just to see him, who would sign an autograph even when he was tired, and who would remember small details about people he had met before. That kind of connection didn't happen by accident. It happened because he chose to care, and he chose to care every single time. It was that choice that made his death feel so personal to so many people. The exact cause of Claude Lemieux's death has not been publicly disclosed, and for now, that detail remains respectfully private, shielded by his family and the people closest to him. What is clear, however, is the impact of his passing. The hockey world has lost a champion, a player who could turn a game with a single goal, and a person who made the sport feel more human. Tributes have poured in from former teammates, rivals, and fans, all of them remembering him not just for his 2 cups, but for the way he made people feel when they were near him, the way he made the game feel like a place where everyone belonged. For fans, Lemieux's legacy will live on in the replays, the highlight reels, and the quiet moments when they remember the sound of his skates, the look of his stick, and the way he would raise his arms after a goal. He wasn't the kind of player who needed to be the loudest or the most famous to be remembered. He was the kind of player who made people feel that they were part of something bigger than themselves, that the sport was more than just competition, more than just speed, more than just winning. He made them feel that they were part of a family, and that family now feels a little smaller. If you've ever felt the thrill of watching hockey, if you've ever admired the courage it takes to step onto the ice and compete at the highest level, or if you've ever been moved by the story of a player who lived for the love of the game, take a moment to honor Claude Lemieux's memory. Please like this video, and if you enjoy stories about the lives, legacies, and losses of the athletes who shape our sports, consider subscribing to this channel. Together, we can keep remembering the people who gave everything to the sport we love, one story at a time.